Hello everybody!
Hello.
Welcome back to the channel, and you guys see the gameplay in the background, which means it's time for another story time. Today, I'm going to be talking about how I almost got into a fight at school during my senior year of high school. So yeah, let's get right into it. So this story happened towards the end of my senior year, around April or May. And if you know anything about school, you know that getting in trouble at the end of the school year is typically not a good thing, especially if you're graduating, which kind of leads into this story. So I was in math class, still waiting to use the Pythagorean theorem by the way, and our teacher was actually pretty cool. It was the day of a test, but our teacher actually gave us the option to do a scavenger hunt throughout the school, so we did that instead. I paired up with one of my teammates from football, and we actually finished the scavenger hunt first before anyone else. It's also worth noting that some of the students chose to do the test, which is important to know for the story. So me and my teammate were finally done, and at this point, a lot of students started crowding around the teacher's desk. So I decided to go back to my desk, and I saw this kid sitting on my seat, and this is where the altercation starts. So I walk over to this guy, and I just remember asking him politely if he can switch seats. I remember saying something along the lines of, "Hey, sorry, you're in my seat." That was it. That was all I said to him. Now, if this guy, which we're gonna call him Jeremy for this story, if Jeremy had responded with something along the lines of, "Oh, I'm taking a test, can I finish this test first?" I would have been okay with it, and I would have just let him do his test there. Instead, he responds by saying, "Can you wait, I'm taking a test right here." Oh my goodness. So after somebody says something like that to me, I wasn't just gonna let Jeremy disrespect me like that. So I decided to start saying things back to him. I tell him to get out of my seat, and he just says no. And at some point, he raises his fist to me and says, "You wanna do something about it?" Now, this is why I mentioned the part earlier about how this was towards the end of my senior year, because I wasn't just gonna ruin my chance to graduate over a chair, but at the same time, I was just gonna let this guy disrespect me like that. Quick side note, Jeremy was actually a junior, which is probably why he was so okay with wanting to throw hands. Anyways, so because I don't want to ruin my chances at graduating, I tell Jeremy that I just simply want my seat back, but he keeps saying no and threatening to fight me. And at some point, I decide to come up with let's just say a very devious plan or a very devious idea. I decide that, you know what? I'm just gonna start annoying him as much as possible while he's taking this test. So one thing I forgot to mention is that me and my teammate actually got some snacks as a reward for finishing the scavenger hunt first before anyone else did. And I got myself a nice bag of Skittles, which might be a weird detail to mention, but the Skittles actually do come into play during the middle of the story, and this is where they come into play. It comes into play when I finally decide to enact my plan to annoy Jeremy as much as possible. So while Jeremy was taking his test, I decided to place my hand right next to him and lean over him as much as possible without actually touching him. Like I was basically doing the whole "Oh, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you." Like I was basically trying to do that as much as possible. Like I just leaned over him heavily. And as for the Skittles, I made sure to chew them as loud as possible, to the point where not just Jeremy, but we also caught the attention of two other people that were also in a nearby desk, because I was chewing them so loud so that then I can annoy Jeremy as much as possible. So I leaned over him and chewed the Skittles as loud as possible. Kind of like this. At some point, he says, "Can you let me take my test?" And I just told him that I just wanted my seat back. He threatened to fight me again, but I just told him "Look, I just want my seat back." And then he said one of the most bizarre things I have ever heard. Just by me asking for my seat back, he then says, "No, because you're gonna tell everyone that I became your..." I was completely blown back by just how dumb Jeremy was, and I just told him that I wanted my seat back, and he was like, "Nah, bro, you don't understand." And I was just like, "Bro, what are you talking about? You're acting as if we're in prison." Like, this guy was honestly acting as if like we were battling to not become Big Bubba's butt buddy today, or housewife or something like that. I don't know. It was just so crazy. At some point, this guy finally ends up finishing his test and just screwing off back to his desk. And despite still having 2 months of school left, I actually did not get into any more altercations with Jeremy for the rest of my time in high school. Now, I know some of you are probably wondering how come nobody else noticed our argument with each other, and there are 3 reasons for that. The first reason was that it was loud in the classroom at the time. The second was that all of the students were crowded around the teacher's desk. And the third is that we actually did not raise our voices. Like when he was threatening to punch me or like threatening to get into a fight with me and all that right there, we were not raising our voices at all. Which that actually is one of the lessons that I talked about in my video about 25 things I've learned in 25 years. And I know there are some saying that I should have taken Jeremy's fight offer, but to put it simply, I didn't take it because it wasn't worth it. I wasn't just gonna throw away my chances to graduate over a chair. Like, it's not even that serious. But, you know, at the same time, I wasn't gonna let this guy disrespect me like that. And just a little bit of a side note, I've seen so many stories of people, mostly guys, completely throwing away their lives for things that just quite simply just aren't that serious. You have these situations where these guys get into fights all in the name of not wanting to be a B word or a P word. And what ends up happening is that these people think that they're being brave or courageous when in actuality they're just being stupid. I'm telling you, there are so many stories of people ending up either dead or in prison because of this mindset. Like, I'm probably gonna have to make a video about it at some point because it's absolutely crazy. And I guess if there's a moral to this story, it's know your battles and what you're actually fighting for. And not all challenges to be courageous and brave are actually courageous and brave. Anyways, sorry for going on that rant. That's gonna be it for today's video. And also, sorry that this video took a little bit longer. I've been kind of busier this summer than I expected, so that's why the video took a little bit longer to make, but it's here now. And for those of you that are new to this channel, I typically upload once every 2 weeks. Just try to keep a consistent schedule and try to space the videos out enough so that I don't get burned out. So, you know, that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.